The billionaire arrived home unannounced and froze as his black maid protected his son. "Please, ma'am." "Stop, you'll hurt him." Ruth's voice trembled as she threw herself between the boy and the woman towering over him. The echo of a shattered vase filled the marble hallway, the last piece of calm that dared to exist inside the Beaumont mansion. Evelyn Beaumont stood frozen for a split second, her chest heaving, her face flushed with rage. "Get out of my way, Ruth. This is between me and my son." "No, ma'am," Ruth said, her breath short but steady. "He's just a child." The boy, Daniel, barely 10, cowered behind her apron, his small hands clutching the hem like a lifeline. Tears streaked his pale cheeks, mixing with the dust from the broken vase. And from the open front door, where the evening wind drifted in, Jonathan Beaumont stood in stunned silence. The billionaire hadn't planned to come home early. His flight from Dubai landed hours ahead of schedule, and he'd told no one. He wanted to surprise them. Maybe see Daniel before dinner. Maybe catch Evelyn off guard with flowers like old times. But now, standing at the edge of the grand foyer, the surprise was all his. "What? What is happening here?" His voice cut through the chaos like a blade. Evelyn froze mid-breath. Ruth turned sharply, her wide brown eyes locking onto him in disbelief. "Mr. Beaumont," she started, but Evelyn's voice drowned her out. "Jonathan," Evelyn stammered, her tone shifting too quickly from fury to fear. "You weren't supposed to—" He stepped forward slowly, his shoes crunching on the shards of glass. The golden light from the chandelier cast fractured reflections across his face, calm on the surface, but with a storm building underneath. "Answer me, Evelyn." Evelyn's lips trembled. She looked from her husband to the maid, then to their son, who was still crying softly into Ruth's apron. He broke the vase, my mother's vase. You know how valuable—" Jonathan raised a hand, silencing her. His eyes dropped to Daniel. "Did you hurt him?" "Of course not," Evelyn snapped, her voice defensive. "But he needs to learn discipline. He can't keep destroying things? Discipline?" Jonathan's tone sharpened. "Or control?" Ruth lowered her eyes, holding Daniel tighter as if shielding him from the words themselves. Jonathan noticed the way she positioned her body not as an employee but as a protector. The image pierced through him. Evelyn's voice wavered. "Jonathan, you don't understand what it's been like. He's been impossible lately. Talking back, sneaking out of lessons, breaking things." Daniel's small voice rose, trembling. "It was an accident, Mama. I didn't mean to. I just wanted to see the inside of it." "Enough!" Evelyn shouted. Ruth flinched, instinctively drawing Daniel closer. Jonathan's expression hardened. "Step away from them," he said, his tone low, not loud, not angry, but final. Evelyn stared at him, her face pale. "You're taking her side now?" "I'm taking the side of reason," he replied coldly. The silence stretched between them, heavy, suffocating. Jonathan turned toward Ruth. "Take Daniel upstairs, please." She hesitated, looking to Evelyn for permission, but Evelyn's glare told her nothing good would follow either way. Finally, Ruth nodded, gently guiding the boy out of the room. As their footsteps faded up the marble stairs, Jonathan let out a slow, controlled breath. He looked at his wife, a woman he had once adored, a woman he had built an empire for. And suddenly she felt like a stranger in his home. "What happened to you, Evelyn?" he asked softly. Evelyn scoffed, her arms crossing. "To me? What happened to me?" "You left, Jonathan. You always leave. You're off running your empire while I'm here, alone, raising your son." "Our son," he corrected. She looked away, jaw clenched. "Don't lecture me." "You don't know how hard it's been. He's not normal anymore. He talks to the staff more than his tutors, hides things, keeps secrets." Jonathan tilted his head. "Maybe he's just lonely." Her eyes snapped to him, sharp as glass. "Lonely in this house?" "He has everything." "No," Jonathan said quietly. "He has things. Not what he needs." The words hung in the air. Heavy with truth, Evelyn refused to face. She turned abruptly, storming toward the grand staircase, her heels striking like gunshots against the marble. "I don't have to listen to this." But Jonathan didn't move. His gaze followed her retreating figure, then drifted to the shattered vase glinting on the floor, the once perfect symbol of their life, now in pieces. And in that reflection, he saw the cracks had started long before this night. Upstairs, Ruth sat on the edge of Daniel's bed, softly stroking his hair. The boy's sobs had quieted, replaced by hiccups and silence. "It's okay, sweetheart," she whispered. "You're safe now." Daniel wiped his face, his voice barely above a whisper. "She hates me." "No," Ruth said gently. "Your mama's just hurting. Sometimes grown-ups forget how to show love the right way." He looked up at her, eyes red. "You don't shout when you're hurt," Ruth smiled sadly. "Not everyone learns peace, baby." She tucked him in, pulling the blanket up to his chin. Her dark hand brushed his pale cheek, a moment of quiet care that didn't need explanation. Then the door opened. Jonathan stood there, his tall frame filling the doorway. "Can we talk?" he asked softly. Ruth stood, smoothing her apron. "Of course, sir." "He's calm now." Jonathan stepped closer to the bed, kneeling beside his son. "Danny," he said, voice low. "You okay, buddy?" Daniel nodded weakly. "I didn't mean to break it, Dad. I know," Jonathan said. "Accidents happen." He looked up at Ruth, his eyes full of gratitude, silent but unmistakable. She gave a respectful nod and started toward the door, but Jonathan stopped her. "Ruth, stay a moment." She hesitated, then stepped back into the room. Jonathan stood slowly. "You've been with us 3 years now, haven't you?" "Yes, sir. And in those 3 years, you've never spoken to me unless it was work-related. Why today?" Ruth's throat tightened. Because today wasn't about work. Her tone was steady, but her eyes carried a storm. "He was scared, Mr. Beaumont, not of punishment, but of her. I couldn't stand by." Jonathan studied her face. The honesty there was sharp, unpolished, rare in this house. "Thank you," he said quietly. Ruth looked down. "He's a good boy. He just needs someone to see him." Jonathan nodded, then gestured for her to sit. She hesitated. No maid ever sat in the Beaumont's bedroom, but the sincerity in his eyes left no room for formality. He took a seat, too, lowering himself into the armchair across from her. "Tell me something, Ruth. Has Evelyn ever been like that before?" Her hands tightened in her lap. "Sir, it's not my place to—" "I'm not asking as your employer," he interrupted. "I'm asking as a father." Ruth's gaze met his. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then slowly, "Lately, yes. She's been different, angry, withdrawn. Sometimes I hear her talking to someone in the study late at night, but no one's there. She doesn't sleep much." Jonathan frowned. "Talking to someone?" "Yes, sir. I thought maybe it was a call, but—" "She whispers names I don't recognize." He rubbed his temples, the weight of her words sinking in. The empire he built, the endless meetings, deals, jet flights, all of it suddenly felt irrelevant compared to the growing shadow inside his own home. "Thank you, Ruth," he murmured. "You did the right thing today." She stood, nodding respectfully. "Just doing what needed to be done, sir." As she turned to leave, Daniel mumbled sleepily, "Night, Ruth. Good night." "Little one," she whispered back, smiling. When she was gone, Jonathan sat in the darkened room beside his sleeping son. The house was quiet now, too quiet. He could hear only the faint ticking of the grandfather clock downstairs and the storm building outside. He leaned back, staring into the shadows. His wife's fury, the maid's courage, his son's fear, all of it swirled in his mind like a storm without a center. Something was wrong. Deeply wrong, and for the first time in years, Jonathan Beaumont, the man who could buy anything, fix anything, control everything, felt powerless. Lightning flashed outside, illuminating the reflection of his son sleeping peacefully. And for a brief second, a figure moved in the hallway mirror behind him. He turned sharply, but no one was there. Just silence. He exhaled, running a hand through his hair. "Maybe it's just the storm," he whispered to himself. But the feeling in his chest said otherwise, because the moment he arrived home unannounced, something in this mansion had already known he was coming, and whatever that was, it was watching. "Jonathan, are you still awake?" Her voice came from the doorway, soft, unsure, like she was testing the air before stepping inside. Jonathan didn't answer. He was sitting by the window, still dressed in the same suit he'd worn since the airport, a half-finished glass of scotch resting on the table beside him. Evelyn leaned against the frame, her face pale from the glow of the hallway light. She had changed into a silk robe, but her hands still trembled slightly. "I didn't mean to lose my temper," she said quietly. "You have to believe me. It's just—" Daniel doesn't listen anymore. He's become so distant. Sometimes I feel like he's not even my child. Jonathan's eyes flicked toward her, calm, calculating, and heavy with unspoken judgment. "Do you hear yourself?" "I'm trying," she said, almost pleading. "You don't know what it's like being alone here day after day." He barely looks at me. The staff whisper behind my back, "You're gone for months at a time?" "And when I'm here," Jonathan cut in, "this is what I walk into? My wife screaming at our son and a maid shielding him like a mother?" Evelyn's lips parted in disbelief. "You're defending her?" "I'm defending decency," he replied, his voice low but firm. Her expression hardened. "You don't understand. Ruth isn't what she seems," Jonathan frowned. "What are you talking about?" "She's too involved," Evelyn hissed. "Always around Daniel. Always listening. I've caught her outside my study at night, pretending to dust. I think she's spying on us." He turned toward her fully now, his patience cracking. "Spying. Evelyn, the woman practically raised this boy while you were attending galas and rehearsing charity speeches." Her jaw tightened. "You're blind to it, Jonathan." "She's manipulating you. Both of you." Enough. The word hung like thunder. Evelyn blinked. He had never spoken to her like that. Jonathan stood crossing the room until he was inches from her. "You're seeing shadows that aren't there. Maybe it's guilt or stress or something else, but you're turning this house into a war zone." He brushed past her, heading toward the hallway. "Where are you going?" she called after him. "To find answers," he said without turning back. The mansion at night was a different world. The chandeliers were dimmed, the hallways ghostly quiet. Rain tapped against the tall windows, lightning flashing across portraits of dead ancestors, all wearing the same Beaumont steel gaze. Jonathan moved through the darkness with measured steps. His reflection followed in the polished floors. He paused near the staircase and listened. Somewhere below, a faint sound, but like humming, a soft voice, low and warm, floating from the servants' quarters. He followed it, down 2 flights through the narrow hall that connected the kitchens to the laundry room. The hum grew clearer. When he reached the small door at the end of the corridor, he stopped. The sound wasn't humming anymore. It was singing a lullaby. He pushed the door open quietly. Ruth sat on the edge of a cot, Daniel curled against her side, fast asleep. A dim lamp cast a soft gold halo around them. The air smelled of lavender soap and rain. Jonathan froze. The image pierced him, a strange, unexpected tenderness in this cold house. Ruth looked up, startled. "Mr. Beaumont?" "Don't stop," he said softly. She hesitated, then set the boy down gently, covering him with a blanket. Her voice lowered. "I didn't mean to overstep, sir." He came down crying. "Said he had a nightmare." Jonathan stepped closer. "Did he say what about?" Ruth shook her head. "Just said, the house feels different lately, like someone's watching him." The words hit harder than they should have. Jonathan's eyes flicked around the small room, the single cot, the neat folded linens, the faint humming of the old boiler. Everything ordinary, except the unease that hung in the air. "Ruth," he said quietly, "has anyone new joined the staff recently?" She frowned. "No one, sir. Only a gardener who came last week. Temporary. Other than that, it's been the same faces." He nodded, though the lines in his forehead deepened. Something wasn't right. As he turned to leave, Ruth said softly, "Sir." "She's getting worse." Jonathan paused. "Evelyn?" "Yes, there are nights when she walks through the halls talking to someone. I hear her arguing, whispering names. Last night she said your name and another I didn't recognize." "What name?" he asked. "Leonard," Ruth said. "Or something like it." Jonathan stiffened. "Leonard Wright. his old business partner, dead for 5 years. The next morning, Evelyn was already in the study when Jonathan came downstairs. She was sitting behind his mahogany desk, flipping through papers, her face lit by the cold gray light pouring through the tall windows. "You're up early," he said, voice calm but edged. She didn't look up. "Someone has to manage this house while you're chasing markets." Jonathan studied her for a long moment. Her robe had been replaced by a crisp white blouse, hair neatly pinned. But her eyes, tired, bloodshot, haunted. "I want to talk about last night," he said finally. "Then talk," she replied without emotion. "Ruth told me you've been hearing things, talking to someone who isn't there." Her hand froze on the papers. Slowly she looked up. "She said that, did she?" "She's worried about you." Evelyn's lips curved into something between a smile and a sneer. "Worried? How noble! Evelyn, she's lying," she snapped. "Trying to turn you against me." Jonathan sighed, moving closer. "Then tell me the truth. Who were you talking to?" Her voice dropped to a whisper. "You wouldn't believe me. Try me." Evelyn's eyes filled with something he couldn't read, fear or madness, he wasn't sure. "It's Leonard," she said finally. Jonathan froze. "I hear him," she continued, her hands trembling now. "At night. In this room." His voice, it's faint, but it's him. "He tells me things, Jonathan. Things about your deals, about what you did to him." He stepped back, his pulse quickening. "Evelyn, Leonard is dead." Her laugh was brittle. "Then explain how he knows things no one else does. Bank codes. Conversations you had in Dubai. He said he's not gone, just waiting." Jonathan's voice hardened. "You need help." Her expression turned wild. "Don't you dare pity me. You think I'm insane? You think I don't know what you and Ruth are planning?" He blinked. "Don't lie to me," she screamed. "I see the way you look at her. The way she protects him, as if she's his real mother. What did you do, Jonathan? What aren't you telling me?" Her words sliced through him, too sharp, too specific. Jonathan stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Evelyn, you're tired. You need rest. Don't patronize me." She lunged for the drawer, yanking it open. Jonathan tensed, expecting chaos. But she only pulled out a small photo frame and thrust it toward him. It was cracked, old. Inside, a picture of Jonathan and Leonard shaking hands in front of their first office. "You think ghosts don't remember betrayal?" she whispered. "He said you left him to die." Jonathan's chest tightened. The memory rushed back. The accident, the failed project, the guilt he buried under millions. He said nothing. Evelyn's eyes glistened. "He said you took everything from him, and now he's taking everything from you." She slammed the photo down and stormed past him, leaving the study door swinging open. Jonathan stood there, the echo of her words filling the silence. Outside, the rain had stopped, but the world felt colder. Later that evening, Jonathan found Ruth in the garden, trimming the withered roses. "Ruth," he said quietly, "you ever lose sleep thinking about something you can't fix?" She looked up, the shears pausing mid-air. "Every night, sir." He nodded slowly. "Evelyn." She mentioned a name. "Leonard." Ruth's brow furrowed. "Is that someone from before I came here?" "Yes," he said. "A man I used to trust. We built everything together. But he made a mistake, one that cost lives. I tried to protect the company, but he thought I betrayed him. When he died, I thought the ghosts died with him." Ruth studied his face, quiet. "Ghosts don't always wear sheets, sir. Sometimes they live inside guilt." He met her eyes. "Maybe so." For a moment, neither spoke. The garden smelled of rain and cut grass. In the distance, Daniel's laughter echoed faintly, playing with his toy cars on the patio. Jonathan smiled faintly. "At least he's happy again." Ruth nodded. "He's strong, but he feels everything, sir. Kids like him, they sense tension before anyone else." "Like animals before a storm," Jonathan murmured. Ruth's gaze softened. "You're a good father. Don't let her break that bond." He turned to her. "And if she already has, then you rebuild," she said simply. "Brick by brick." Her words lingered long after she walked away. That night, Jonathan sat alone in his office, staring at the old photo Evelyn had left behind. The more he stared, the more he felt it. Leonard's eyes, frozen in that confident grin, seemed almost alive. The mansion creaked in the wind. Somewhere upstairs, a door slammed. Then, faintly, a whisper. Jonathan froze. It came from behind him. Low, indistinct, but there. He turned sharply. The study was empty. "Evelyn?" he called out. No answer. He walked toward the hallway. The lights flickered once, then steadied, and then he heard it again. A man's voice this time, raspy, close. "You left me, John?" Jonathan's heart slammed in his chest. He spun around, scanning every corner. "Who's there?" Silence. He grabbed the photo frame off the desk. His reflection stared back, eyes wild. "You're tired," he whispered to himself. "It's stress. Nothing more." But when he set the frame down, the glass cracked on its own. Jonathan stepped back, the air thickening around him, and somewhere in the dark hallway, unseen, a shadow moved, tall, indistinct, slipping past the door toward the stairs where Daniel slept. Jonathan didn't see it, but Ruth did. From the corner near the servants' wing, she watched the shadow glide across the wall. Her pulse quickened. Something in the air felt wrong, colder, heavier. She set down the laundry basket, whispering a prayer under her breath, because she knew something had followed Jonathan home, and it wasn't done yet. The storm returned that night. Ruth sat in the small staff kitchen, her hands trembling as she wrapped a blanket around Daniel. The boy's eyes were heavy, but his voice was sharp. "I saw someone in the hallway," he whispered. "A man," Ruth froze. "What kind of man?" Daniel's lips trembled. He was wet, like he came from the rain. But when I blinked, he wasn't there anymore. Ruth forced a smile, brushing his hair. "It's just a dream, sweetheart." But her eyes betrayed her calm. She'd seen the same thing, an outline at the end of the hall, moments before Daniel appeared. And the feeling hadn't left her since. She tucked him tighter. "Stay here no matter what happens. Promise me." He nodded, frightened. Ruth stood, her bare feet silent on the cold tile, and stepped out into the dim corridor. Upstairs, Jonathan was still in his office. The rain lashed harder against the tall windows. He hadn't moved in hours, staring at the cracked photo frame. The image of Leonard and him, smiling at a dream that would destroy them both. He rubbed his temples. "Get it together," he whispered. "You're imagining things," but his body tensed again. That sound. Footsteps, slow, deliberate. Coming from the hallway outside, he rose from his chair, every instinct sharpened. The footsteps stopped right at the door. "Evelyn?" he called. Nothing. He opened the door, and the corridor was empty. The air, though, smelled faintly of rainwater and metal. He moved cautiously forward. Halfway down the hall, something shifted behind him, a low groan of wood. He turned sharply. At the far end, Evelyn stood, barefoot, her white nightgown soaked, hair clinging to her neck. Her eyes glistened in the low light. "Evelyn!" Jonathan rushed toward her. "What are you doing?" "You'll catch your death. Do you see him too?" She interrupted. Jonathan stopped. "What?" She pointed toward the staircase behind him. "Leonard. He's here." Jonathan's blood ran cold. "Don't—" But her gaze was fixed, unblinking. "He told me everything, Jonathan. About you, about Ruth, about Daniel." Jonathan took a careful step closer. "You're not well." She smiled faintly, a terrible, fragile thing. "You should have told me." "You should have told me the truth before he did." "What truth?" "That Daniel isn't mine." The words hit like a blade. Jonathan's heart stuttered. "Evelyn, don't lie now," she said softly. "It's all in his eyes. I saw it the first day she held him. That same look. That same warmth. You thought I wouldn't notice?" Jonathan exhaled sharply, struggling to find words. The thunder outside swallowed his silence. Evelyn took another step forward. "You think I didn't know?" "That you were with her before I came into the picture?" Jonathan's voice broke the air. "Stop, not here. Not like this. I was your wife, Jonathan. Your partner. And you gave her everything I wanted. A family, love, and now you're haunted too." Her eyes darted past him. "He's here," she whispered again. Jonathan turned. Nothing but darkness. When he faced her again, she was already backing away down the stairs. "Evelyn!" he shouted, running after her. Her steps were frantic, slipping on the wet marble. "He said the boy doesn't belong here," she cried. "He said the house will never rest while he's under this roof." Jonathan grabbed the banister, trying to reach her. "Evelyn, listen to me!" But she spun. Her foot caught on the carpet, and she fell. The sound was sickening. He was at her side in seconds, rain hammering against the tall glass doors of the foyer. Evelyn's chest rose shallowly, her eyes dazed but alive. "Don't! Let him take him!" she whispered. Then her hand dropped. Jonathan stared at her stillness, the storm roaring louder outside. And from somewhere deep in the house, Daniel screamed. Ruth had heard the crash. She was already running. When she burst into the foyer and saw Evelyn's body, her breath caught. Jonathan looked up, his face ghost pale. "She's gone," he said hollowly. Ruth's heart pounded. "Where's Daniel?" The boy's scream came again, from the top of the stairs. They both turned. Daniel stood at the landing, trembling, pointing toward the shadows behind him. "There! He's there!" he cried. Jonathan bolted up the stairs, Ruth close behind. But when they reached the landing, there was no one. Only the boy, sobbing, clinging to Ruth. Jonathan knelt beside him. "Daniel, what did you see?" "He said to come with him," the boy whispered. "He said Daddy owes him." Jonathan's hands shook. "No one's taking you anywhere." But even as he said it, the lights flickered again. Every bulb in the corridor buzzed, then shattered. Darkness swallowed them. Daniel screamed again, clutching Ruth. Jonathan fumbled for the wall, but then a new sound. Slow breathing. Right beside him, he turned sharply, eyes straining in the dark. A shape loomed ahead. Wet, human, unmoving. Then, in a whisper that didn't sound real, it spoke. "You left me, John." Jonathan stumbled backward, hitting the wall. "You're not real." The shadow took a step forward. Lightning flashed through the windows. For a split second, the face appeared. Pale, drowned, eyes hollow. Leonard. Jonathan gasped. "What do you want?" The voice echoed around the corridor. "You took my name, my company, my life, and now I'll take yours." Jonathan reached for Daniel, pulling him close, shielding him. "You're not taking my son. He's not your son." The voice hissed. Ruth's voice cut through the dark. "Enough!" Her tone was sharp, commanding, not frightened but furious. The air seemed to pause. "Leave them alone," she said, stepping forward. "He made his mistakes, but you've no right to haunt a child." The shape turned toward her. "You protect them like blood." Ruth's chin lifted. "Because he is mine." Jonathan's heart stopped. "Ruth," but she didn't look at him. Her eyes stayed on the shadow. "Yes," she said. "He's my son, and you won't touch him." Lightning split the air again. And when it did, the shadow flickered violently, twisting like smoke in a wind tunnel. The whisper became a growl. "You should have told him." Ruth took a trembling breath. "He didn't need to know, not then. He wasn't ready." Jonathan stepped closer. "You lied to me?" Tears ran down her face. "I protected him." "I protected you. You don't remember that night because you buried it. The night Evelyn couldn't conceive. The night she begged you to keep the family name alive. You asked me to carry your child, and then you forgot." Jonathan's knees went weak. No, You moved on, built an empire, married her. But the deal you made with Leonard, that's what cursed this house. You used his insurance money to save the company. He died for your empire, and you called it business." The wind howled through the broken glass. Jonathan fell to his knees, staring at the apparition. "Leonard, I didn't mean for you to die." The ghost's voice trembled, echoing like thunder from underwater. "Regret doesn't unbury the dead." Daniel sobbed, clinging to Ruth's skirt. "Please make him stop." Ruth bent down, holding him close. Her whisper was calm. "Close your eyes, baby. Don't look at him." Then she looked up at the spirit. "You were a good man once, Leonard. Don't let hate chain you here." For a long moment, the figure didn't move. Then its head tilted, the rage faltering. "I just wanted him to remember," the voice said softly. Jonathan looked up, tears streaming. "I remember now. Every deal, every lie, every time I used you. I'm sorry, old friend. You deserved better." Lightning flashed one last time. When it faded, the shadow was gone. Only the rain remained. The morning came gray and heavy. Police cars lined the driveway, their lights muted in the mist. Evelyn's body was taken away under a white sheet. The official word would be an accident. Jonathan didn't correct them. He stood by the front door, silent, watching as the rain cleaned the marble steps. Ruth approached slowly, Daniel holding her hand. "He hasn't slept," she said quietly. Jonathan knelt down, brushing a tear from his son's cheek. "It's over now." The boy looked at him with wide eyes. "Is the man gone?" Jonathan hesitated. "Yes, he's gone." Daniel nodded, but his small hand gripped Ruth's tighter. Jonathan's gaze lifted to her. "You should have told me." Her eyes filled with regret. "I wanted to, but I saw the life you built, the pain you carried. I thought it was better this way." He nodded slowly. "Maybe it was." The silence between them held years of truth. Finally, Ruth said, "What happens now?" Jonathan looked toward the horizon, the mist rising off the hills, the mansion looming behind them like a monument to everything lost and found. "We start over," he said quietly. "This time without lies." Ruth nodded, tears spilling freely. Daniel looked up between them, his small voice trembling. "Can we go home now?" Jonathan smiled faintly. "We already are." He took Ruth's hand, and together they walked back inside, leaving the door open just enough for the wind to carry the last whisper of the storm away. And somewhere deep within the mansion's walls and where echoes had once lived, there was only silence, the kind that meant peace.